Easy E, how are we?
Seán E, what's the story?
And if people listening are like, that was a very quick response from Eric. I think this is the very first time not the very first time, it was the first time we've done this podcast in the same room, right beside each other, instead of over Zoom, in a long, long time. But you invited me to your humble abode for football night and before we're getting this podcast in. How are we?
It's really weird. Even though you're talking to me, I'm still staring at the screen.
He's a face for podcasting. How is the body? I see you're up to a half marathon this morning in the Phoenix Park. And
I did. I've been busy. Well, I wasn't really busy until about Wednesday of this week, and then I realised like 4.5 weeks, right, you really need to start training. So I've been doing little bits, and I picked up the weight training program. So Wednesday kind of cracked into it. I think I did a 5k on Wednesday, kind of varied pace, just to kind of give myself a bit of blow. Thursday I went for I think it was a 10k. Yeah, 10k right. Thursday. Friday I did a hill session on the treadmill, because I'm on the treadmill. Now, one thing I have to say.
Right.
People think I ran a 3:30 fucking 7k.
I saw that on Strava. I'm like, oh, Eric Lawless is back, and then someone doing a 3:30 7k. So is that the watch calibrated wrong, or what's the story?
When you finish on a treadmill, you have the option on the Garmin calibrate and save.
Right.
So on the Garmin, it is correct pace, distance, time.
Okay.
But
when it syncs to Strava?
Yeah, it's I don't know, TIFF is in my head. It's not a TIFF file. It's kind of like a training file that it sends to Strava is right. The raw data. It doesn't have the edited data. It has all the other points. So
gotcha.
Basically the watch just makes up how far you ran. And it had me running at 3:30s. But once it sets its rhythm, it's like, well, that's what he's doing. Yeah. And I was like, on a 4:50 going, I know I'm fast, but I'm not that fast. So anyway, if you want the real, so I've started to, some people took serious offence to me running that distance to that quick. So I now write on the top exactly what speed and time I was doing, just so no one gets a fright, because I can't change it. Yeah, I can't edit the activity anymore.
That's the only time I edit Strava, is when I'm looking at it going, okay, if I'm doing intervals or something that's like, that looks like a faster pace than normally one's like, oh, by the way, I didn't do that. Yeah. Whereas like, it's mad, we've talked before, like in 2020, people are doing their 5Ks and stop every comment going, oh, my 5K PB time is actually 13 minutes to go way out of that.
But you can't edit Strava.
I'm the opposite way on that. I'm like, I have to put it like, if I do, like, for example, the marathon weekend, that's day's morning run, don't care. But if it's the opposite way, it's like, hang on, that looks too good to be true. I'm like, no, this is what really happened. Don't come at me. I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. But you're now doing treadmill runs and you're doing gym training. So before we get into the intro of the podcast, are you doing your weights and then running, or are you coming in two separate times, or is it just because you're so busy now you have to both in at once?
For me, I tried to run at lunch, but I can't. It can't always guarantee. Like, even I think on Friday, the weather on Friday, no one was going running at that. Now, in fairness, come 3 o'clock, the weather was beautiful on Friday, but nobody was going running at lunchtime in that weather and wind. It's just stupid. So for me, it was a case of do the weight training. So Friday was leg day. And what better way to finish leg day with hill runs? Because the Dublin Marathon is fine if you train for 16 weeks. If you've got 4 weeks, the one thing that's going to bring me down is the hill. The hill from the river all the way up to Knockmaroon Hill, Castleknock, and back down again to the far side is a long climb. Yeah. Then after that, you've Chapel Lizard climb, which is a steeper climb, not as long. And then as you make your way out towards UCD, you have a couple of climbs out that way. Yeah. So the way I've worked it is, I need my legs tired, hence leg day. Yeah. And then I need to run uphill for a long time. So I did 30 minutes at a 9 kilometers an hour pace. So next week it'll be 45 minutes at a 10 kilometer. And then the week after we're going for the full hour of an uphill run. Because at the minute, that's what's killing me, is the hills. And the weight. The weight.
But you're gradually building up. But I saw before we hit the record button, you're Strava up to, I think it's 55 kilometers you did in this week, which is a huge jump to what you've done the last couple of weeks. Like you're getting that up, you're getting the training in, and now it's just trying to look after the body, I suppose, while challenging a little bit more in each week and just kind of incremental to Dublin. Yeah, well, there's a lot of things that need to happen. So one thing I realised today in the Phoenix Park is the route I take, yes, it has a nice downhill, but there's a lot of climbing on the other side. It's kind of, I'm trying to get myself ready for what we're actually going to do. I'm very heavy. So the heart rate is 149 on the flat. For the first 10k, it's actually the brain that's like, what are you doing? This is 10k. Do you want to go home? And then I look at the heart rate with the heart rate monitor, so hopefully a little bit more accurate. And it's saying 149. And I'm like, oh, you've no excuse. So it's actually really good for me to see it. But then as soon as I climb the hill,
174.
Oh,
And it's like, now it's mental.
Are you feeling that, or are you looking at what you're seeing and you know you're high up?
And to be fair, I get to a point where I'm like, I'm working hard, and then I look down and it says 174. So and that's trying to keep the same pace and stuff. So today I actually made a friend as well in Phoenix Park, Chi, from China. I got through about 11k and I was like, look, I'll stop. I was just feeling it in around the knees and stuff. I was like, nothing to gain. We've done a lot of running. Just stop for the quick 30 seconds and we'll have a stretch. And I just passed him. And then he ran past me. He's like, keep it going. I was like, oh, fuck you. So I ended up running another full lap with him. And he was out for his 28k long run. And I was like, am I? But then as I got to the roundabout, as you know, coming up by the back of the Oris up to the roundabout again, I got there and I was thinking, well, I've run to the top of the hill. I might as well run to the bottom. But then I checked my watch. 174. I checked the time. I was already there, probably longer than I wanted to be, and I was like, "Gee, it's been lovely. I'll see you in Toners after the marathon for the point." Brilliant. But he was real lonely then. He was loving it. And even with a stranger, like we had good chat, very minimal where you from, all that, and then after that, it was just we ran in silence and happy suffering together, and so it was actually really, really good.
Were you getting the little nods off people? Everyone there,
everyone was out.
Marathon.
Everyone was out for their last big long run before the taper, whereas I'm starting.
But you've been there before. But actually, one last thing before the intro, because we've talked this before in the Phoenix Park, doing the hills, talk about that slow, steady pace. Like you see somebody come up the hills and like, I gotta keep the same pace and stuff. I gotta drive up and the legs come out in front and they're just wrecking their quads and I wonder where they're tired at the end. Whereas me and you have talked before, it's like, you know, getting the ribs down, slow, steady state up that hill.
Yeah, it made a difference. And you know what was actually a godsend? I was holding the 540s just for the suffering's sake. I was like, if I want to try hold this for an hour, I have to at least hold it, hills or no hills, for a half. But then when I met he was aiming for a 6-minute pace. That extra 20 seconds, I have to say, it gave me a new lease of life for another 10k. So it makes a difference, especially when I picked him up. We were on the downhill, and then that pace up and down the hills, it got me through the 21.1, for want of a better word. But yeah, it was good. But a few things, I weighed in at 94 kilo this morning. So
throw us back to 2019, your last Dublin Marathon.
83 kilos.
So you're 11 kilo heavier than when you got your 334, 335?
Yeah, so I think anything under 4.5 is good. 415 is a target, and everything else is a bonus. But not to...
You shed weight fast though. Like people be jealous of how quickly you could shed weight and get into shape. People
are jealous with how quickly I shed weight, but people aren't willing to close the Hurt Locker door the same way I do.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But you don't look big.
No.
Right now,
like 6'3",
you're carrying it. Yeah, you're carrying it very well at the moment.
But yeah, look, I just noticed it. So this morning was 94, and after the food I've just prepared, I will still be 94. Half marathon and not come tomorrow morning, but. On marathon day, I will be 87 kilos.
87 kilo, okay.
So I have 28 days, it's 4 weeks. And just a tip on that, like it's something I can do, but it's not drastic. I will actually be eating more food than I normally eat. It'll be just more, not calorie dense, but nutrition dense. It'll be regular intervals, so I'll never be hungry. It'll be whole grain. It'll be whole wheat, stuff that keeps me fuller longer, so I'm not craving a snack, or I'm not going for the packet of sweets or the other little comforts that I've been chowing down on and enjoying myself.
Yeah, so you feel like you're eating more food, but the calories in the food is less, so you're still in that calorie deficit, and you're training more, so you're definitely...
So the calories, I'll still be eating 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day. The difference being the training is up. There'll be 2 a days, there'll be 3 a days. So Monday, tomorrow is my rest day, and I'm going to cycle for an hour and a half. My rest is not running. So the heart rate should be maintained within the 120, 130, but I'm still working towards keeping that movement. There will also be push-ups and sit-ups every day. Strengthening the core, I think, is going to really benefit me on this one. As we have seen in the past, lesson learned, when I get tired, the hips go everywhere. The core goes bad, then the injuries come. So every day, core, push-ups, sit-ups, everything is going to be worked. One, lean muscle, it'll help me shed weight. Believe it or not, people are afraid to put on muscle. Everyone says, muscle's heavier than fat. Yes, But if I do little bodyweight things here and there, I will develop muscle. That muscle will then eat the fat when I'm asleep.
It's like the muscle is smaller though. If you look at a 5 kilo muscle and you look at 5 kilo fat, the 5 kilo fat mass wise is taking up a lot more. Huge. It's like that stupid meme where they have like there's more protein in broccoli than there is in a steak. But like the small little steak, and you have to have like three plates of broccoli the same as a steak. Like so, it's twisting words and stuff like that. But you talked about not going for a run on Friday because of the weather and only an idiot would go out there. Well, Mother Nature made me look like an idiot on Saturday morning doing the Galway Bay, so we'll get straight to that. Oh,
just before you hit the intro, for people who are in a hurry to lose weight, don't follow me. Because it is, and it's something that really triggered me when we went to David Goggins last week and I've talked to a few people. I have a horrible habit of closing the hurt locker. Like I get into the hurt locker, close the door, and I'll come out in 28 days time and see where we are. But I will post what I'm doing every day. You can verify the weight and how little I have done. Okay, I've done the cycle, I've done it, but running wise, my first training session was the Dingle half. So, and it's just one of those things. Like most people, and rightly so, would probably go, I'll do a half marathon. Like this is too much. I haven't trained. Just 4 weeks to go, and they're probably right. But in my want to just show up, I've done a half marathon today. Yeah. So it's what happens on the day. The finish line will be crossed. Time is just the ego factor. Yeah. So and trying to get through it as injury free as possible, which can be done. But when I shed that weight, it'll make a big difference. But I will post what I'm eating. I'll post when I'm training, and everyone can see that I have a job. I will post when I'm in work, and I'll do a little bit. So for the next 28 days, anyway, from tomorrow, people will be able to see what happens in the pain train.
I love that hot locker phrase.
It is a hurt locker. No,
I love that phrase.
It's one of those, get in the locker, and it's like, okay. And then I just close the door, and then they ask me when I want to come out, but I won't be coming out till I'm sitting in toners in 28 days time. So yeah, do keep an eye on the posts. I'll try. I'm terrible with Instagram, but I will put up the pictures of the food I'm eating when I'm eating as best I can without interfering with normal life and everything else. But and watch this space for how to taper to a marathon.
Unreal. On that note, intro music to Any Given Run Day podcast. Let's go. So my first travelling marathon, I suppose.
Your first travelling marathon.
Where I had to get everything in order. And of course, I brought the better half down with me. And she's like, well, where are we going? I'm like, it's in this place, hotel. I was like, that's miles and miles out. And it ended up only be 15 minutes in Clare, Galway. The hotel there, beautiful. But we got there and I didn't know. I booked this a while back. So I was like, booking bed and breakfast. I got the reception and...
breakfast starts at 7:30.
Breakfast, no! That's what happened. Breakfast starts 8 o'clock and I gave her a look. I was like, what's up? I was like, I'm supposed to be running at 8:30 in Galway, which is like 20 minutes away. It's like, I'm not having breakfast. And they were like, well, we can have a continental breakfast for you at 7 o'clock. And I'm like, ooh,
very fancy.
I was so shocked. Like, what do you want? I'm like,
far from the continent, you
I know, right? It's like so much for a Weetabix is all I get. But I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And so we had our food that night. And long story short, the next morning, 7 o'clock, I'm in the shower and the door knocks and I come back out, not in the shower, the door. And
different shark, different movie.
There was ham and cheese sandwiches, plato chocolates, me coffees, fruit. There was yogurts and all there. I'm like, oh my god, this is brilliant. So the only problem was I hadn't got my number. I left the number back in the farm. I was like, so I was stressed and getting in, but they sorted me out with a number and got down to Galway. So Galway, if you haven't heard about the Galway Marathon, what way it is, it's 2 small loops and then 4 big loops. So I had no idea if that was going to mess in my head or not. So I'm walking down towards the start line. I'm like, right. One of my favourite parts of the race is that start line where you've got a good minute, 2 minutes, you're in your own head and they do the big countdown and stuff and the music starts to build towards a big crescendo.
You're sweating before you even start.
Sweating before you start. But you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have me gels here. You're just going through the plan one more time. I was like, right. I had my Lucozade bottle up with me because they only had water stations. So
it's part of your outfit now.
It is.
So I was watching the video you were running out. It was just this gobshite in a red Jordan t-shirt and a bottle of Lucozade.
Lucas Aid, sponsor me.
I'm just here for a run, lad.
It's worse than the Saw Doctors t-shirt.
Marathon or 10k, I don't know, I'll do it all.
So I was like, right, in my head, I'll have the Lucas Aid bottle, like 3 Connecticut gels because I couldn't get the high 5 gels in time. That's the only thing I saw. Soup 5. So I was trying these for the first time. I was like, oh, why would I have them?
They're actually alright.
They're grand.
Yeah, I've got the flavour one here. They're lovely.
They're nicer than the, I think it's the SIS ones. They're very goopy or stuff.
Gluey,
Whereas when I opened the thing, I was like, ooh, this is like just liquid.
Yeah,
Bang, gone. Beautiful. So I probably will have them in Dublin Marathon. I might try the high 5s first, just because people always recommend them. But if I had to have Connecticut, I'd be very happy. But I was in my own mindset, and so you have to walk down to the start line and come back on yourself for the start. So I'm walking down, talking to one of the lads, best of luck. I turned around and was like, right, the plan for this, I have my Lucas Aid gels and beep! What in the Daffy Duck is that? You're gone. No build up, no messing, no nothing. 8:30, buzzer gone. You're gone. Like,
that's brilliant.
People were coming down 5 minutes later, I heard, and they were like, here, race has started. Get that start point, pass the pad for the timing chip, and away you go. No messing, just beep, away we went. So, okay, here we go. So it's a good mile down for the short loop to start, to come back on yourself, and it's marked very well, but the wind coming at you at the Galway Bay I was like, oh my god, this is going to be rough. Wasn't too bad to start because you're all bunched in. Got the first loop in. As I come back to the second loop, I'm like, right, 4 big laps. You've done your 2 warm-up laps. I was like mentally trying to get myself psyched. It's like 2 warm-up laps.
And now the race starts.
Now the race starts. Yeah. And of course, as I said that, the heavens open. So there's a story on Instagram. It's actually the finisher pic where you see the rain coming down, there's the arms out going. Now we suffer because in those moments you just have to laugh and go, okay, this is what it is. But so because the 4 big laps, because the wind was hitting you one way, not so much in the way back helping you out for some reason. Cheers, Mother Nature, for that. But the wind was hitting you so hard, I said, we'll go for as close as I can to a 3:30, which is Dublin. I said, I'll keep that pace for as long as I can.
And
once I drop, see where we go. So legs could be a bit from the week before. Halfway through, I could have to drop out, or I'd have to slow it right down just to finish. I said, we'll see where I am. Even if I get somewhat close to it, it'll give me confidence for Dublin. So I knew I had to do a 5:10 or something the way down. If I pushed too hard in that wind, I was going to drain me the way back. So I was getting 5:10 the way down, 4:40, 4:50 or so on the way back. And you can see in the Strava is the up and down, up and down. Sidebar in this one, we do the 2 loops. So I do the big loop down by the caravan side, coming back up. And this lad in front's got the headphones. He takes the headphones out and he looks at me and goes, is this the marathon route? And I'm like, I'm staring at him and I'm trying to be polite and I'm staring at like the 20, 30 people behind me and the 20, 30 people in front of us. I'm like, we're the only ones running out here. So if you're wrong and I'm wrong and all these people are wrong, the whole race is fucked. Like, what are we doing? I was like, are you sure we're definitely the marathon route? I'm like, 100%. The 10Ks don't start for another 2 hours. The half marathon don't start for another 4 hours. Which brings me to my point. I'm going to as far as say hate the idea of using headphones in a marathon because they're so switched off. It is I'm convinced it's an advantage for a long run. Yeah. But now when I heard him saying that, I'm like, he doesn't even know what's going on in the race. So yeah, a bus could come and take out 50 people behind him,
and he'd be marathon route.
It's still the marathon route. We still going. What's going on here? I'm like, I'm out in the headphones. A lot of people have asked me lately, why don't you use headphones while doing marathon races? I'm like, that is now a new reason on top of the reason I think it's cheating and everything else. So I was just like, no.
Do I think it is cheating? No, some people do what you have to do, but it wouldn't be for me.
Especially Dublin.
Like even today, when I was just on my own, suffering, music. When I met Chi, I took out my headphones.
Yeah.
And I just went into the silence with him. There's just peace in the silence.
There's something to it, even having someone beside you that's sharing the suffering half. Even with running, and you're like, that can't make sense because you're doing the exact same thing whether someone's beside you or not. But no, it is sharing
and
that
the odd joke or the odd. Did you see that? Yeah, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
like it's then 3K passes by, you don't even notice. Yeah, you know, like it's and you're like you don't absorb anything when you've got the headphones on. You don't. Like, even what do you remember? Like, I always remember things. Like, it was a good tip someone gave to me because I have terrible memory for, like, people be like, I'll remember what someone did to me. Yeah. I won't remember the name. I'll probably remember what they were wearing, but I can't remember, like, the details. But someone was like, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear?
Yeah.
If all you're hearing is Jay-Z for 42 kilometres, you could be anywhere.
Yeah. You don't take it in.
You don't take it in. You can't hear the wind like lashing out. You can't hear the rain. Like it all adds to it. Like
you need to absorb. I really do think you need to absorb it. But I'm jumping ahead. But I'll get back to it. I did see on my last lap, and it was a bit of a struggle. Which I'll get to in a minute. Why it was such a struggle. But coming back up on Salt Hill, the pier, I saw this kid at the top of it, and he was just braced himself, and then all of a sudden he just jumped off the thing towards the ground, and towards the sea. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather be suffering out doing a marathon than doing that jump. And it took my mind off for a good 2-3 minutes, just thinking about that and jumping off that, and just little things like that would just take you off. And the route is beautiful, even though it is.
I have to say, looks flat. As in, look.
Oh yeah, flats. It's flat.
Brilliant.
40 meters of elevation. Oh, and the hill comes into the 4 loops, and that's total. It was the 40 meters. Like the lads were talking about hills, I'm like, that wasn't a hill. That was a very steady incline. It was
a flat.
It was yeah. It was all like it was. I have done 5Ks I've genuinely done 5Ks this year. Where they told me fast and flat, and come up to bigger hills than what came up in Galway. Brilliant. Like it's a nice one for a PB. If the weather holds up. Eliud Kipchoge is not getting 2 hours 1 minute in this wind and rain. No hope. So we got the 3 laps in.
Well, he would have been finished 2 hours ahead of this wind.
Oh, he would have missed it actually. Yeah, he would have done it. Going into that last lap, I did hear it. That was the one thing. I was like, right, coming to the last lap, try and get my head right. There is no wall.
What was each lap then?
I think it was around 9k or so, 8 to 9k. Okay. Somewhere around there. So with 9.4 is 36, and then smaller ones, around that I'd say 3k or so for the loop. Maybe it was a little bit less than 9k. But coming to the last one, I heard the 3 winners being announced, and it was around the 2:40 mark. I was like, yeah, bastards. I was like, right. The weather was good at times. I psyched myself up. It's like, the legs are not getting sore. I could feel getting tired. No, you've done this before. You've ran on tired legs. You did last week. You did an 80k, and you're running for another, 7-8 hours in these tired legs. You've got this. Keep the pace. You're not going to hit 3:30 because I was around 3:31, 3:32 this time. It's like, probably too much to keep pushing, but that's all right. Just save yourself for Dublin. Let's try and get under 3:35. And I got to the starting line again to go again, and then all of a sudden the wind came at me, something shocking. Like on Strava it has 35 kilometers or something like that. I'm like, this at this stage felt a lot worse. It was just straight at me, right so down open. That mud, and the worst, so open because the last lap they had the 10k people run, so I was actually hiding into 10k and running around the 10k people and trying to
get them to break the wind.
Yeah, get them to break the wind, like jumping in and out through them and stuff like that. And I heard some people be like, oh, marathon runners on your left, as if to say then back out, the marathon runners that run ahead to them. I'm like, everyone's doing their same race. Like, my marathon run, just because I'm running along a distance, is not more important than a 10k. Yeah. I will say, however, though, they were 3-4k into the race, and a guy was handing out water bottles, and I was desperate for water at that stage. So I was in my 3rd lap. And so probably 20 odd k in, I'd already had a gel and stuff, and it's like, I need to go a bit of water. And the big bottle came out, and I know for a fact this person in front was only 3k in. I grabbed the last big bottle of water, and I had no water past the station. I'm like,
an ankle tap would have happened there.
I was like,
their race would have ended there and then.
I was like, you did not need that water, pal.
I would have upended them.
Oh, I was disgusted. But I eventually on the way back got me water. I had my last gel. The wind had hit, and I just passed that mile marker where you kind of go back in the flat down towards it, and the wind's not as bad. And stupidly, I was like, Mother Nature, is that all you got? Smiling, laughing. And then the heavens opened and the wind had gotten worse. It felt like the rain was at a 90-degree angle hitting my face. And you can see it on my stats in Strava. Like, because you rang me afterwards, goes, what happened at 35k? I'm like, Mother Nature happened at 35k. It just opened. I went down to a 6 kilometer pace, and I literally just had to laugh and giggle to myself. People must have thought I was nuts.
There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. If you start giving out about it and be like, oh, I could have got this time. No, I wasn't getting 3:30. I probably would have took a minute or two max off my time. But look, you're out there, you're doing a marathon. Just enjoy it. Take it in. These are the elements. You just got to deal with it.
As I commented, not a bad recovery run. Like, considering it was 7 days earlier, you couldn't walk.
I don't know what happened in 7 days. Like, I did a 6-7k run on a Thursday. I couldn't do much till then. And then I literally got to the starting line. I was like, just hold a 5 minute pace as much as you can for as long as you can and see what. So I didn't even bring my my Hulk of Carbons, the Hulk Big Stews, because I was like, I'm treating it as a training run. So even not bringing the regular runners, I'm like, if I could do like a 3:45, let's say, well, there's 3 minutes knocked off the time if I had the runners, and maybe if the wind's really bad, there's another 3 minutes. So I finished around 3:36. So actually, very first race I've ever finished where I got to the finish line and I needed more to do. So when I passed the finish line, I was like 42.1. So I had to run to the end of the barrier. I had to run past people who just finished and jump up over puddles to the thing hit 42.2. And then I was like 42.21. The thing lit up fastest marathon. I'm like, now I'm done.
No, you need that done.
So neither recorded me finish. It's like, why is he still running? Did he forget to turn off for another lap? Like, what's he still doing out there? Yeah. But I would totally recommend Galway. The more I think about it, it was... Now, the 80k last week has an effect because I was out there for nearly 11 and a half hours. That running for a little over 3.5 hours felt a lot shorter, obviously. Yeah. But the laps, which I thought would be like, oh my God, do another lap. You know what's coming. Yeah. You know what it is. I knew when to take a gel because of it. Okay, the gel's here, the bin's here, that kind of thing. You knew exactly where the water station was, how long you were to that. You could just... You could plan. You knew, like, because I knew after first lap, was like, okay, I'm doing a 5:10 on the way down, I'm doing a 4:40, 4:50 on the way back. I could positively, like, just map out exactly what I was doing.
Keeps the brain ticking over as well. Completely. When you turn that corner, you're like, right, next phase, 4:50, let's go, there's 5k in and done.
Like, in Dublin, if you know the route well enough, you could do that to the extent, we get to Chapel Lizard with the hills, you're saying, okay, I'm not going to hit my time target for this kilometre here, it's going to be a couple of seconds slower, but on the next one when it's downhill, I'm going to be a couple of seconds faster and I'll balance it out. Yeah. Like, if you're going for a 5-minute kilometre pace, you're not getting exactly 5 minutes on each and every kilometre. You're getting a good 10 seconds over or under, depending on...
Like, as you come down that downhill through the Furry Glen and Phoenix Park, once you come to the top of the hill, like 4:30s come out there.
Yeah.
All you do is lengthen the stride and you make back the 30 seconds you took coming up the hill.
Exactly.
Like it's good. I don't think I could have done Galway then.
Well, we'll see. I'm going to see how the body is. I'm unsure now what to do because I still feel like I'm 6 minutes off the sub 3:30 for Dublin. So I feel like at 34k legs were getting tired. I feel like even if the weather wasn't there, I would have dropped to a 5:20 pace because I had to prove myself that I had more in me. So when I came to loop back, I went from a 6 minute pace. I did come back down to a 5:15, 5:20. But that's still not 5 minutes that I would have needed for a 3:30. So, and the legs were tired enough there. When I was finished, I was done. I wouldn't have done another, like, if I had to have done another lap, I would have done it in a 6 minute 30 pace or something like that. Like, but the race is the race. You know you're when you're finished.
It's hard to tell the body to keep going.
Exactly.
Even kind of like me and she today. I was like, in my head, I was like, will I do 16 or 21.1? Then I laughed. I was like, you know what you're going to do. And then I was debating doing 25. But as I seen 19k as I got to the roundabout, I was like, oh, I'll finish if I turn left now. Gee, listen.
Oh, God. But that's the body. That's what it's like. If you do a 5k, at the end of a 5k, I'm done. I'm not doing any more. Same with 10k, half marathon. Your body, your mind's built towards that distance. No matter what that distance is, it's like
you make your deal. You make your deal with the body, and the body does what it does.
Exactly. No matter what that distance, the body does what it does, and it's very hard. Like, we think we said it last week in the podcast. When, like, you see, like, those hell weeks and stuff where they go up over the hill, the mountains and stuff, and they get down, they're done, and it's like, they think they're finished, like, okay, now do it again, and it breaks people. So it's the same with a race and stuff. But
the best part is that I got into my head today was, as you run, obviously we're talking about the Phoenix Park, so some might be excluded, but I always come left out of the Pope's Cross.
Okay.
Run towards Miggledy, take a left, head to the top, and then keep going in a left loop. So it's an anti-clockwise loop of the Phoenix Park.
Always to the left.
Yeah. So when I run from pretty much the Chapel Lizard Road, come over those hills, up by the zoo, round the back by Garda Quarters, HQ. That's a hill all the way until you get to the roundabout again. It's very slight, but to get there. But I got this mentality of, well, sure, you ran up the fucking hill. You've at least earned to run down the fucking hill. So, and
enjoy it.
That's another 4k. Yeah. But it's down the hill. You've earned it. So it's little things that you just have to tell the brain. Like, if you make it up the hill, even if you walk up the hill, you've earned the right to run down the other side. Yeah. And okay, you might walk at a 10-minute kilometre. But once you run down the other side, that averages an 8 kilometre, and you'll get there. You will get there.
We've said this many times in the podcast, and we didn't intend on doing this, but you talk with the hills there, me talking with the laps, talking with the music and everything else. It just goes to show how mental the marathon is, how mental the battles are. If you're not switched on mentally before that thing starts, you're dead in the water. No matter how much your fitness and stuff's there, if you don't believe in yourself and you get that starting line and have that strategy of what you're going to do and have that, I'd almost say visualization of how you're going to feel at certain points and how you're going to overcome that and how you're going to feel coming up over those chapelized hills, and you're slowing down your slow steady pace and just building yourself back up again, and then going down, getting yourself your reward for going down the hill whenever it comes later. If you're not mentally there for it, it could, I genuinely believe, could be the difference between finishing and not finishing the race.
Like the first 15k are going to happen whether you like it or not.
Yes.
After that, climb into your own little hurt locker, into the pain cage, and just don't let yourself out till 42.2. That is the only way, and it might sound bizarre. It's not actual pain. It is a painful fight with you and your brain. I'd say you probably have 4 fights every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Every time you turn a corner, it's like, fucking just stop.
I've heard people before mention it as that dark place you get at some stage. Yeah. Everyone gets that dark place, and even I stop smiling, and I'm like, right, just got to keep going. We're in. You just got to keep going.
The jokes stop.
Yeah.
And then the crowds take over. You just thank everyone for giving you a jelly and just keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's it's good, but well done.
Cheers, big man.
You've done more running in the last 7 days than I've done in the last 6 months.
On that bombshell, the next 3 weeks of the podcast before Dublin should be very interesting to see how we get on. Best luck with your challenge. It sounds insane, and once again, we don't recommend anyone doing what you're about to do in terms of the weight loss and stuff. But you've done it, yes. But I can't argue with you because I've been there. My 2019 one was a 6 week kind of try and get under the 4 and just do what you have to do. And sometimes I wouldn't recommend it for you first, even though we fecked up at first. But it's just something that, Dublin is Dublin, and it's any way you get that starting line and enjoy it, and enjoy the pints and toners afterwards so much more with that medal around your neck.
That is it, and if it takes me 6 hours, I'll still drink pints and happy as if it was 3.5. I don't care.
Well, you'll catch up with me and drinking the pints anyway, even if you've got another 2-3 hours on you. And on that note, guys, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. That's it from myself and Aaron. Take care.
Bye.